What is going on, Draw It 2 crew? Ramney here with a brand new vlog video, and in this video, in anticipation of Avengers Infinity War, which I'm going to watch tonight, this evening, I'm very excited for that. I am going to be ranking all 18 Marvel Cinematic Universe films from worst to best. So this is my own personal list of all of the MCU movies. In general, I thought that most of them were very, very good. So I haven't put this list in order yet. I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to be doing that in camera, so so that you guys will see my thought process. But in general, I thought that most of the movies were good, were really good, and there's only some that I wasn't a huge fan of. So it's going to be a little bit tough for me to figure all this out. If you guys are interested in making this kind of ranking as well, I made a list of the movies down in the description, so feel free to take that, or you can take the image of all the posters that I have from this video. I have a link to that image down in the description of this video as well. So feel free to make your own list, cut out those posters, and sort of organize it the way that you want. I would love to hear your thoughts, so please post them in the comments once you guys make your list. I would be very interested to have an awesome discussion with you guys about this. Before we continue, you guys, if you are interested in more vlog videos like this, definitely hit that subscribe button down below, or hit that notification bell as well, so that you guys are notified anytime I upload a brand new vlog video, which is usually Wednesdays. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to my other channel, Draw It 2, for a lot of tutorials of these of characters from these movies. So anyway, you guys, let's get started with our ranking. As you guys can see, I got my MCU action figures. It's not all of them, mind you, but I've got a lot of them over here, so definitely check that out. They're not in their Infinity War costumes, and I'm still missing a couple of characters, so yeah. Anyway, I am very excited for the movie. Let's go ahead and start ranking right now. All right, you guys, so here I have cutouts. I made them into little cards, cutouts of the posters from each of the 18 Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, starting with the first one, which is Iron Man. I'm gonna put that over here. Next one is The Incredible Hulk. Iron Man 2 is next. Then Thor, the first Thor. Captain America, the first Avenger, and of course the movie that ended the Phase 1 Avengers, the original Avengers movie. Okay, Phase 2 started with Iron Man 3. Let me move that over here. Iron Man 3, then Thor: The Dark World, Captain America: Winter Soldier, the first Guardians movie, Avengers: Age of Ultron, and then Ant-Man. So this is Phase 2. Next one, we have Civil War. That's Captain America: Civil War. Doctor Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Spider-Man: Homecoming. Thor: Ragnarok, and the most recent one, Black Panther. So, like I said, these are the 18 before Avengers Infinity War. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rank it from top to bottom, just grouping them together. I'm not putting them in order yet. So I'm going to start with the ones that I like the best, and then I'm going to just kind of group the ones that I don't like as much. So, and I'll make 3 groups. I'll also put the ones that are so-so to me, I'll just put it in the middle. So the worst ones I'm going to put over here, best ones, the ones that I really love, over here, so-so over in the middle. Okay, so let's do that right now. Black Panther, I really like that one. Iron Man, I really like that one. The first Avengers, I really like these ones. So these are the 3 that stand out as the ones I like the best. Also, the first Guardians, I really liked. Civil War, I really liked. The Winter Soldier, I really liked. Okay. Thor: Ragnarok's kind of, I really liked it too, you guys, but not as much as these ones. So I'm gonna start my middle pile. Spider-Man: Homecoming, I also really liked. Guardians 2 right here, Doctor Strange over here, Ant-Man here, Captain America: The First Avenger here. Avengers, Iron Man 3, definitely one of the lower ones for me, as well as Thor: The Dark World. Thor I actually really like. The Hulk was so-so. It's kind of in the middle here. Iron Man 2, I'd also put here Avengers Age of Ultron. I'll go with the Hulk. Okay, so there you go. I have put them in these groups from worst to best. So now let's rank them, starting with these ones. And I'll also give you guys like a little mini review as to why I chose these ones in the spot that they're in. And I think the worst one for me is probably Thor: The Dark World, because it really, aside from the ether, it really added nothing to the plot of the whole MCU. So I'd probably put this one last, and I would put Iron Man 2 second last, just because, I mean, the War Machine was really good. I really liked the introduction, but there was so much potential with this second Iron Man movie, and I just didn't really like the whole story of him getting like crazy drunk, getting poisoned. And Ivan Vanko was he had potential to be such a good villain, but they kind of just brushed him off, and it wasn't very effective in the end, I think. Iron Man 3 I'd put a little bit above because I feel like it was better done than Iron Man 2, but my problem with it is this guy, the Mandarin. I was looking forward. I was a huge fan of the comic Mandarin, the one with the 10 rings, and I was looking forward to that, and I thought that that's what we were getting. It wasn't what we got. I was thoroughly disappointed with the Killian character at the end. Although, I mean, he really did have a tragic backstory. I just wasn't a huge fan of it. So, those are my 3 lowest, I think. Now, the Hulk or Avengers Age of Ultron. I think I'm going to put Avengers Age of Ultron next. So again, I'm going from worst to best. So this is my 4th worst movie, Age of Ultron, basically because it was just the rock'em sock'em robotic, like with robots. And I wasn't a huge fan of the Bruce Banner Scarlet Witch romance. I felt like that came out of the blue. Thor had like a little side mission that made no sense to me. I like the introduction of Vision. He was really cool. And other than that, it was, oh, also they had Baron, what's his name? Baron von Strucker as a bad guy, but they killed him off right away, so I wasn't a fan of that as well, because I was a huge fan of that character in the comics. And then after that is the Hulk and the Incredible Hulk, and I thought that this was a pretty enjoyable film. The only problem was that, like, in the grand scheme of things, it started to look like the uncle that nobody likes, you know what I mean? So it's one of those films that nobody talks about anymore because Edward Norton has been replaced. Nobody even talks about any of the characters that appear in there, like Betty Ross. They had like Abomination. He's still alive, but where is he now? Like, no one talks about him anymore. Even the leader, Samuel Stearns, who shows up in this movie, they didn't do much with that character afterwards, so I was a little bit disappointed. But the Hulk, this movie, we saw the Hulk smash, and that's why I liked it a little bit more. Even though we did see the Hulk smash in this movie, just the first time we saw the Hulk smash and beat up, you know, Abomination, I thought was a cool scene. So I think I put that a little bit over Avengers Age of Ultron. Okay, so that's the 5 worst. Now let's look at these ones. And these aren't necessarily like the... Let me just organize these. I'm not saying that these movies are really bad. They're just, you know, when you're ranking movies, there's some that end up having to be at the bottom. So that's just how they are. But overall, I like the MCU movies, you know? Okay, so here you go. I definitely put Thor Ragnarok over here because I like that better than, say, Thor. Spider-Man Homecoming is over here. Guardians, I think I like Ant-Man better than Guardians 2. Which one do I like better? I think I like Doctor Strange. I like Doctor Strange better than Spider-Man. I think I like Doctor Strange better than Guardians, actually. And Captain America, there you go. I think we're good with that. So let's go with reasoning. Okay, I put Thor next, so that's gonna be the sixth worst, or the, oh, I don't know math, I'm not even gonna attempt it. But I'm gonna put Thor next, and the reason for that is because it was a good movie, but the way that we have Thor now with Ragnarok, like this movie here. Compare this Thor to this Thor, and he just feels so out of place here. And I really like it, but there's just something about the directing that I wasn't that big of a fan of. If you notice, the film is always filmed slanted, and I don't know why that bothered me a little bit. But I really liked Loki. I like the introduction of Thor, of course. I like Loki, and I like the introduction of like the more supernatural elements to the MCU with this film. So I like it, not as much as the rest. Okay, next one. I don't mean for this to be lower, but I think the only thing with Spider-Man is that we've seen lots of Spider-Man movies already, and I know that Tom Holland brings a brand new kind of attitude with the Spider-Man in Spider-Man Homecoming, but I feel like we've just seen Spider-Man enough that it didn't blow me away as much as it's supposed to. The Vulture was an okay villain. I actually really like the Vulture. He's my favorite MCU villains. So there's that. Captain America: The First Avenger I enjoyed a little bit more because it was a period piece. It was, I mean, growing up I knew the story of Captain America. He was a frail young guy who got experimented on with the super soldier serum, and I liked that aspect. I liked seeing it happen, and it wasn't cheesy, it wasn't corny. I was actually really blown away by the character design and the costume design, especially the Red Skull. The only thing that I didn't like about this was that a lot of the Captain America in action was just all flashbacks. It was all like it was just a what do you call it, a montage is what it is. So you didn't really get to see a lot of Captain America doing a lot of Captain America things. I also wasn't a fan of how they treated the Red Skull. I feel like the Red Skull is a prominent villain in Captain America stories, but he just has this like one fight with Captain America and then that's it. So I wasn't a fan of how they treated the Red Skull. So that's where it is. Next one is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Not as funny as Guardians 1. But still pretty enjoyable, I would say. I mean, the jokes, a lot of the jokes were very funny, but I felt like sometimes the jokes were a little too much as well at the same time. So I also like Yondu. I like his story arc there, and Ego as a bad guy was pretty interesting. He was definitely different. So that's where that lies. Now we're sort of going. This is like the worst. Now let's go for the best. Okay, so this is one half that we've already done. Let's talk about the other half that I really like. Next one is Doctor Strange, and the reason why I like Doctor Strange is it's even though it felt like a rehash of Iron Man and Ant-Man, the reason why I liked it was because it was different, and I like the aspects of Doctor Strange being in Asia, training as a magician. I definitely like the fight scene at the end, like everything in reverse. That was eye-popping to me. So this was a very trippy movie, and I really enjoyed it. Next one is Ant-Man. I liked Ant-Man more so than Doctor Strange because he's a funny character, and I think I just really like the way that they portrayed Ant-Man. Paul Rudd was an excellent casting choice for Ant-Man, and I'm very excited for Ant-Man and the Wasp. Actually, I'm looking forward to it a lot. So I would put that after Doctor Strange. Next one is Thor Ragnarok, and I'm not saying that I dislike Thor Ragnarok. I really, really like Thor Ragnarok. I think it's funny. If you compare the old Thor movie to this Thor movie, there's just such a difference in attitude, a difference in the way that you look at Thor, and it's a little bit of a disconnect to me. But you know, I still like both. I like Thor Ragnarok more than the other Thor movies. Of all like Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor, I feel like Thor's movies were the weakest, but Thor Ragnarok is definitely pretty good. Yeah, I like the introduction of a lot of the characters there, and I like what they've done. It kind of changes a lot of things too. Like I like that it changed Asgard, and it changed Thor's appearance. I liked the Hulk's story arc from there too. So now we go to the bottom, or the top 6 of my favorite movies, and I know that it's off camera a little bit, but I'm going to arrange them. Let me arrange them to according to my favorites, and maybe I'll do that off camera a little bit to give you guys a little bit of a suspense as to who and what I'm going to choose. Can you guys see that? Let me double check. Okay, I think we're good. Let's do this. Okay. All right, so these are the top 6 movies, MCU movies that I like, and I'm starting with Captain America, the Winter Soldier. And the reason why I really like this movie is because it brings Steve Rogers up to date with modern times. And you know, Captain America, when you think of Captain America, you think like a Boy Scout kind of person, someone who's kind of boring at parties. But this movie made him such a badass. Like when we saw Captain America in Avengers, we saw him fight, but not, like we know he's a good fighter. We saw that, but the way that he fought, the way that he was in Captain America the Winter Soldier was what sold me on the character. I thought he was a okay character beforehand, wasn't my favorite, but after this movie, Cap was definitely my favorite. Like such a good movie. And like they portray him as a, like he still had that like morals and beliefs of like the old times, still an old-fashioned type of guy, but they modernized him. So he's definitely like this character who's a lot more cynical. He's not as like as much as a Boy Scout as he used to be. So I like that about him. I'm just gonna bring these down a little bit. I like that in this movie. Okay, now the top 5. Next one is Black Panther, and it's in the top 5 because it's such a different film than the rest. There was something about it that was just so special. Killmonger was an amazing villain. A lot of the cast is just well acted, well casted. I am a huge fan of Okoye, huge fan of Shuri as well. So it's not like Black Panther to me. It wasn't just a movie about Black Panther, but it was a movie about everything else, everyone else around Black Panther. Like, to be honest with you guys, like Black Panther was probably the least interesting character in his own movie. Like, I really like these guys more because they had so much personality. So there was something really special about Black Panther that I really liked. So I'm putting it as number 5. Okay, the next one is Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one. Now, this was such, like when this was released, it came out after Captain America, the Winter Soldier. So, and Thor, the Dark World, and Iron Man 3. So it was a huge breath of fresh air because, I mean, the movies before that, it was pretty serious. Thor, the Dark World was serious. Captain America, the Winter Soldier had a lot of serious elements to it. But when Guardians came out, it was a huge surprise, I think, to everybody. But to me, when I came out of that theater after watching Guardians of the Galaxy, I had a huge smile on my face because it was such a funny movie, and I loved it. Excuse me, I burped. I loved it so much, you guys. It was amazing. I mean, made me a huge fan of these characters that I knew a little bit about in the comics. I knew the first iteration of the Guardians of the Galaxy, you know, with Stakar and Yondu. Those guys, I read those comics, but when this core Guardians came out, it was awesome. I loved it so much. All right, the next one is Iron Man. Now, I like Iron Man because it was also a surprise. And like this was back in 2008, you guys, when comic book movies were kind of okay. Aside from The Dark Knight and Spider-Man, like comic book movies were a little bit of a joke. When this came out, it was so different than what The Dark Knight, what Batman offered. Like Batman offered this dark, gritty comic book style. But Iron Man kind of proved that you can embrace the colorful aspect of a comic book and just you know, like and bring it to life. And Robert Downey Jr., such good casting, you guys. I mean that was a stroke of genius. The design of the Iron Man suit, when this was like before YouTube became super huge. When we saw pictures of the Iron Man in production, I was blown away by the design. It was like ripped out of the Adi Granov issues of Iron Man. It was perfect casting. Like Obadiah Stane looked exactly like his character in the comics. I was blown away by Iron Man. I was a huge fan of it. And then what I didn't know, that's what's special about Iron Man to me, is I didn't know that at the very end, a guy with an eye patch would appear and talk about the Avengers Initiative. That was the very first post-credits, mid-credits scene of all the MCU, and that set up the whole MCU. So I came out of this, I distinctly remember coming out of Iron Man thinking, what are they going to do next? Who are they going to introduce next? The Hulk was coming up after that, we knew that, but after that we were like, had no idea what we were in for, like what the MCU was going to look like. So this was the movie that introduced the MCU. That's why it's up here. It's a special movie. Like, this movie is very special, okay? After that, of course, is Avengers, the very first Avengers. This was the culmination of like 5 movies with characters that we've already grown to love. And Avengers was just perfect. This movie was perfect. There was something about it. All these superheroes coming together for the first time. It was amazing to see, and like from beginning to end, I had a huge smile on my face seeing. Like, as a kid, you dream of these things. You dream of Captain America meeting Iron Man. You dream of, you know, what would happen if Thor fought the Hulk? What would happen if they all teamed up? Like, this is the kind of stuff that comic books, we're so used to seeing in comic books, like crossovers, that kind of thing. But this was the first time we saw superheroes crossover in a huge, big budget blockbuster movie, and it was amazing. Like, I was a huge fan of everybody. Like, I did not dislike any, like, the only gripes that I have with the Avengers is maybe like just little nitpicks, like Captain America and Iron Man are fighting, or they spent a lot of time trying to balance the helicarrier or trying to fix the helicarrier kind of thing. So that was like just those kinds of things. But the final act of this movie was amazing when the alien invasion started happening and the Avengers came together as one team. That was a special moment, and I can't, you know, I was so giddy when that happened. It was amazing. It was exciting. This was a fun, fantastic time. All right, you guys, so that was the top. That was the second one, so we're down to our last one, and I don't know if you guys have figured it out yet, but my favorite MCU movie is Civil War. Captain America, Civil War. And the reason why I like it is it was like Avengers, but it was ramped up to 12 superheroes and a really cool storyline. And like, when you think about it, the storyline, this kind of doesn't make sense. Baron Zemo isn't the character that he was in the comics, but the way that they weaved all of these superhero stories together, it made sense. Their motivations made sense. Everything made sense. You understand the fight. And this, I came out of the theater not knowing whether I sided with Cap or whether I sided with Tony Stark, with Iron Man, because it was one of those movies where there was no real villain. The villain is irrelevant. Baron Zemo is irrelevant. The conflict was between like his ideology and his ideology, and I left that theater wondering, like, what the heck, who was right? Like, I had no idea, and even now I still kind of can't figure out who is right between Tony Stark and Captain America. And the characters that they introduced, or the characters that they brought together for this film, and then that airport scene, man, you guys, that airport fight scene was just amazing. Of course, they introduced Spider-Man in this, they introduced Black Panther in this movie as well. And I mean, getting Black Panther and Spider-Man introduced in the same movie was already pretty awesome. And then you see all these superheroes come together. That's pretty awesome too. And each one of them had like a moment to shine. Each one of them had a really cool scene. And I can't say enough about Civil War. This was like a mind trip. It wasn't just like a mindless action movie. It was one of those movies that made you think as well. And that's why I rank it as #1 in my MCU list. that is it, you guys. That is my ranking. Let me know what yours is. And you guys, that is my list of the MCU movies ranked from worst to best. Thank you so much for watching. This was a pretty long video, I have to admit. I didn't anticipate it to be this long. But anyway, let me know down in the comments below how you would rank the MCU movies yourself. I would love to hear it, and I would love to have conversations with you guys, because the movie Avengers Infinity War comes out later today for me, and I am excited, I am stoked to talk about this film, so I would love to hear it from you guys as well. If you guys have seen the movie, make sure to leave the spoilers out of the comments down below. If you guys spoil it for people, it's not good, it's kind of rude, and I will have to block anybody who does spoil the movie, because I want this to be an awesome experience, because early reviews are in. They're saying that it's going to be an awesome movie, so I am excited. I cannot wait. Anyway, you guys, that is it for this vlog. This is the longest vlog that I have to date on this channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Here's my ranking. I would love to see yours, and until then, see you next Wednesday. Actually, I might do a review of Avengers Infinity War coming soon, so stay tuned for another vlog. So take care, you guys. See you next time.